Hello my friends. I'm going to share with you today one of my favorite fermented vegetable recipes. And the ingredients that I'm going to use, the base to the recipe is cabbage, and I'm using the Napa, some red or purple cabbage, and regular cabbage. I like adding color. More color, the healthier the vegetable is. The other ingredients, I like to use organic carrots. Most of this stuff is organic. I found some radish and leftover red pepper, onion, organic garlic, organic turmeric, ginger, and I found some purple sweet potatoes. And of course you need salt, and I use the pink Himalayan. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut my cabbage and then start salting the cabbage. So move some of this stuff aside. And I like the cabbage, it's the base. The cabbage is going to be cut. And we have to remove this core. And I found that I don't like the pieces too large, so that's why I made that slit on the outer part of this. The Napa, on the other hand, I like bigger chunks of Napa. I like the texture that kimchi has, and kimchi base ingredient is the Napa. Now we're going to need 3 tablespoons of salt for every 5 pounds. So I'm going to start adding salt because I want this to start breaking down. It'll start extracting the liquids out of that cabbage. And you can see I have multiple bowls because this is going to have a pretty good volume, at least initially. Now the Napa. Want to get the core removed so that the individual leaves will start falling apart. Now the Napa, I'm going to cut larger chunks, similar to like what the kimchi would be. Okay, the Napa's cut. This is our 3rd tablespoon, and that's one on the Napa. Now I want to move this around so that the salt gets distributed. Okay, the onion I'm going to cut into thin slices. And I don't want the onion real long pieces, so I'm quartering it. And these are cut about 1/4 of an inch in width. The pepper, I'm going to cut it up. I like the color. I like to add things that have color to make the probiotic mix more appealing. Since I only have one, I'm going to make this smaller chunks so it'll be spread throughout. Okay, the rest of these items I am going to grate. And with these are organic carrots. Anything in the ground, I try to make sure that it's an organic item. So we're going to grate the entire batch. The sweet potatoes we're going to grate because they have a little more fiber and I don't want it to be real chewy. So the smaller chunks will make it a little bit better. And I didn't cut the ends off, so I have a handle for when I'm doing this. Now the radish, and I had to get some more bowls out because I need to mix this volume. The purple sweet potatoes, gonna grate these. And as I'm adding to the bowls, I'm trying to distribute it evenly so that it helps me mix. Here, look at that color. I've added 3 tablespoons of salt. There's about 10 pounds of veggies. So I'll need 6 tablespoons of salt. The turmeric, it's a little bit too small for me to hold on to and run it on the grater. So with those, I'm going to just slice them and dice them. And I'm going to get these as small of chunks as I can. This really smells good. You can see that turmeric is staining my hands, and the ginger, it's large enough that I can hold on to it. So I'm going to grate this instead of cutting it. When I get down to the end, I'll chop it up. The garlic, I take and cut the root end off. And I use my knife. Hit it, and it crushes it, and it breaks the peel. And then I'm just going to make slices, and they're just going to go in. I'm not dicing these up that much. If you notice, I didn't peel most of my veggies, and I did rinse them just so if there's dirt on there to come off. But with the fermentation process, you need the bacteria, and you get a lot of that just from the peels that's on the veggies. So they were clean but not sterilized. So now that I added all the veggies, I have 4 tablespoons of salt that have been added. I need 2 more. And so this will go between the 4. And this is going to make 6. So 3 tablespoons for every 5 pounds. There's approximately 5 pounds of veggies. 2 pounds of carrot alone, it was in there. Okay, now we're going to mix them all together. I don't know if you can see, these are already wet. So just sitting here, it's breaking down, it's extracting the juices. Oh, one last thing. You don't need to add anything else, but to kickstart it, this is from my last batch. I saved the liquid. And this is full of the probiotics. So I'm going to put this in here with these. And this is going to kickstart it. You can also use some kombucha, something like that. It already has the probiotics, and that'll help it go real quick. Now I'll let this ferment. I'll put it in jars. I'll let it ferment for about a week, and I'll be tasting it the whole time. When I get it to where I like it, then I'll seal them and put them in the fridge. But in the meantime, as I'm watching the fermentation, you can't have the jar sealed. You have to burp the jar every day to let the gases escape. And it's gonna start foaming up, so you're gonna have a mess unless you put a pan underneath your jars. And I'm gonna ferment it in mason jars so that when it's done, I just need to seal them and I have them ready to refrigerate and eat right out of the jars. You can see here, I took the 4 containers and this has been about 45 minutes. And the salt now broke down a lot of the vegetables and made a brine. You can see when I push on this, the liquid coming right up to the top. And what I'm going to do now is fill jars. It's easiest if you have wide mouth. I only have one wide mouth, so the rest are going to have to be into the smaller jars. So I'm doing this over another bowl because I'm going to be a little sloppy here. But you want to fill this up and pack it down. And you want to have enough liquid in here that all the vegetables are submersed, that they're not exposed to the air. And as long as you keep them under the liquid, you'll have no issues as far as any spoilage. I've never had any spoil. But this is going to start fermenting, and with fermenting, the bacteria and yeast, it's going to start breaking down the sugars that's in the vegetables, and it's going to create CO2, which can cause pressure. And you can see right there as I push this down, the salt brine is coming to the top. I'm going to push the vegetables down below the shoulder, and I will even add a little more to that. And what I want to also do is wipe any vegetables off of the jar on the inside. And right there, we're under. When this is starts to ferment, the CO2 will displace the air and the oxygen. So I'll rinse this off on the outside too, and then set this into a pan to catch anything that is pushing out of the jar. There will be liquids that will push out. And in 5 days to a week, this will be ready to eat. As I get a little bit lower into the container, everything is submersed in the liquids. You know, a wider jar also makes it easier to push down. And we're packing quite a bit of veggies into these jars because we are compressing it. There you have it. Thanks for watching, my friends. Bye-bye.